CURES, sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.
Helping you lead a healthier life. This is CURES.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CURES show and podcast, where we explore cutting-edge wellness from credible sources for our mind, body, and spirit. And today we're talking about dreaded weight gain, especially once you hit that 40-year-old mark. Yes, you might be dealing, 80% of women say they're struggling with weight gain during perimenopause and menopause. And our guest today says that doesn't have to be the case. She is an award-winning bodybuilder, fitness coach, and menopause expert. She's been there. She's cracked the system. So Melissa Neill is here to help us figure it out, so we're not guessing anymore, and we can get biceps like you if they're watching, Melissa. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure, Cara.
You know, I mean, I'm definitely someone who relates to this. I think you said that you, your whole life, you felt you were pretty slim, you could eat well, you were active, but you don't have to watch anything that carefully. And then all of a sudden, things weren't working, and weight was just coming on from barely looking at a sandwich or eating sweets that you would enjoy every now and then. And I think it gets confusing for so many women and what we need to do. And you went through this exact same thing, even with all of your fitness training. You started gaining weight post 40.
I did. And I had a baby at 41, Cara. And what I couldn't work out, I'd had a baby and I couldn't lose the weight after. And I kept thinking, oh, it's because I've had a baby. And then later on, when I started to do more research about this, I realized that what's happening is our bodies are changing as we get older. So we're just going to kind of naturally gain weight, even if you've done the exact same things that you did in your younger days. And it's really frustrating. So what happens is you've got your estrogen levels dropping, you're losing muscle mass. And so what happens is you're going to just naturally gain weight, say around 20 pounds. 20 pounds is the average. Some people, it could be a lot more. I deal with women that have kind of gained 40 pounds, for example, by not changing anything. And so it was just really frustrating for me. Mm-hmm. And then what I did is I actually spent 2.5 years trying and failing to lose weight. And then when I found out the formula for success, I started to share it on my YouTube channel with other women, because I was just like so pleased that I actually found something that worked, that I just really wanted to share it. And back then in 2019, not many people were talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, so you've really grown. You now have 500,000 social media followers. You have a wildly popular YouTube page. More than 40,000 people have downloaded your app, and you have a whole system, Body by Bikini program. I mean, you are, do you share your age? How old are you now, if you tell anybody?
I do share my age. I'm very proud of it. Well, I'm going to be 58 in about 10 days' time.
Stop it. How are you 58 years old? Oh my gosh, that is amazing. 58 years old, and you are lean. You're competing in bikini competitions. I mean, I've seen the pictures on the cover of your book. Perhaps we can put that up there. You have a new book out called Fat Loss After 40, and we're going to be able to show you what you look like in a bikini, which I think most people would assume is AI after a certain age. So what is, as we work on getting the book cover, tell me your secret. Like, what's number one? I know you say we need to really focus on protein.
Yeah, we really need to focus on protein, because protein is going to help your body metabolize fat a lot more effectively. So how we structure our food in the Western world and like the standard American diet, it tends to be kind of pretty carbohydrate based. And that was based on, like, historically, it's cheaper to fill your plate with carbohydrates and veggies, that kind of thing. My mother did that with me. You know, your plate was mainly made up of that. And now you've got to rethink it and have maybe 1/4 to 1/3 of your plate, or even a palm size amount of protein. And that's going to make a massive difference, Cara, because what happens when you eat protein is it takes your body longer to break down protein than it does carbohydrates and fats. And so what that means is you're actually going to burn more calories just through eating, just through the way that you're eating. You're going to burn more calories, and you're going to increase your metabolism, because protein also supports building and maintaining muscle.
Yeah.
So it's got two functions.
We have your book cover now. I want people who are watching to be able to see this. Kickstart Fat Loss. Transform your body after 40 and reclaim your power. You know, we see all over Instagram, everyone looking for abs. And I have a, 18-year-old daughter who is going to the gym and she looks incredible. But what works for you in your 20s and even your 30s, you're saying is very different. And we need to really make friends with weightlifting. Not just cardio, in fact, very little cardio. So good for people like me who hate cardio, this is actually good news.
Oh, I'm glad you hate cardio. Yes, I hate it a little bit, or I've got love-hate with cardio, actually. So what I get women to focus on, and I've kind of worked with 10,000 women through my program, so I've got a great deal of experience of this, not just with my own body, but working with other women. And what I get them to focus on is lifting weights. And traditionally, we thought of that as the preserve of bodybuilders, didn't we? And I kind of hit on it by accident by doing bodybuilding shows and competitions. But I was in quite a small category. It's called bikini to start off with. So, I wasn't getting kind of big and bulky. And I think we kind of got to sort of reframe our ideas around lifting weights, because a lot of women will think, oh, I'm really scared of that because I'm worried about getting bulky. But what I find with the women that I work with, when they incorporate this, they actually find they lose dress sizes. So they're losing inches. I mean, I've got one lady, Stephanie, that she's featured in my book. And in 8 weeks, Cara, she lost 8 inches off her waist following this protocol. She lost about 20 pounds. That's not that significant, but 8 inches off your waist is really significant. And so when you adopt this, what happens to your body is by building muscle, your body's just going to be burning calories. So even when you're kind of sat around, when you're sleeping, when you're resting, the bits in between your workouts are actually more important, because that's when your body's going to be burning calories. And so that's what we need to focus as women over 40. But as I said, you don't need to fear getting bulky. That's the biggest fear that women have, because it's virtually impossible when you get to a certain age. Because what's happened is your muscle mass is declining. It's actually declining at a rate of 1% per year. So we just discussed I'm 58. If I hadn't have done anything about it, I would have lost 18% of my muscle mass by now, because you're losing 1% every year after the age of 40. So that's quite a significant, that's almost 20% of my muscle. So what you're doing when you're doing this lifting weights is you're putting on what you've lost through the aging process. So when you talk about your daughter going in the gym, yes, she can do loads of cardio because she's got lots of muscle on her. And so what's going to happen, she's going to do the cardio, she's going to drop the body fat, drop the weight. But as we get older, we find that doesn't work anymore. And what we got to do is kind of work on putting muscle back on. And another thing women fear is they sort of think, well, I don't want to go in the gym with loads of bros, and they're like huffing and puffing, sweating and lifting all these heavy weights. And of course, you don't have to do that. I have my women working out at home.
Yes, you do. And I know you have an app, and people, we'll let people know they can go to your website, which actually, just in case, shout it out right now. I think it's melissaneill.com. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, melissaneill.com.
Yeah. So you can go. You have an app. You have a book. You have all this. But I want to break it down for the people who are listening, even just to inspire you. Hopefully, you'll go take a deeper dive. But let's just talk about how many times you need to work out per week. with strength training, and how long is that? What does it look like? How heavy are you lifting? Like, just in general, what do we need to be doing to really make a difference?
So you don't need to be doing a massive amount, Cara. People sort of say to me, "Oh, Melissa, you must work out 7 days a week." Now, it's my profession, and guess what? It's actually bad for you to work out 7 days a week. Especially women over 40, it's really bad for us because we need recovery time, and our bodies actually respond much better to like working out a bit less. So for most women, that's 3 or 4 times a week. I work out 5 times a week. I lift weights 4 times a week and I work out 5 times a week. But I have my clients doing 3 or 4 times a week and they are getting amazing results, really significant results with that. And it could be just for 30 minutes.
Really? Okay.
I was watching a podcast with a guy called Dorian Yates, who probably no one here would have heard of, but he's like a top bodybuilder from back in the day. I think it was back in the 90s. He was, really successful. And he said he trained when he was in his heyday for 45 minutes. And that's all you need. It's generally 30 to 45 minutes of lifting weights that you're going to need. And that is absolutely enough. And guess what, Cara? This might be music to your ears as well. You can actually overtrain. So if you overtrain, what happens is you're not going to see great results. Now, how do I know this? Because I did it. It was one of the big mistakes I made. So especially with lifting weights, you don't want to be doing it 7 days a week because your body needs time to recover and muscle actually develops when you're resting. So it's really important to get enough rest.
Yeah. Okay. Which is wonderful because I think as people, we're also very busy in this stage of our lives with taking care of parents, taking care of kids, full-time jobs, all of those things. So it's good to know that even just starting with that 3 times a week, and I know on your app, and I do have a screen here where I can just show if you are watching at home, want to screenshot this. This is all of Melissa's information if you want to follow her programs. But in general, you're talking about this, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. You could be doing basic things, squats, push-ups, bicep curls, like things that we all kind of know how to do. You're not going to have to go and learn some strange origami with your body. But when it comes to nutrition, that is a huge thing. I have found that when I think I'm eating pretty healthy, and then I just veer off a little bit, like vacation, or we've got too many sweets on the show, it just shows up. And so is there a lot less room for error with our nutrition in midlife and beyond?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Cara, is that we can't get away with what we did in our younger days. However, if you do build muscle, what you can find is you can get away with a bit more than somebody that hasn't built muscle. So that's what I find like with my own body and the women that I work with. So because what happens if you've got muscle on you is, as I said, your metabolism actually improves. It's literally the only thing you can do when you get older to change what's actually happening with your body and improve your metabolism is lifting weights and incorporating the protein that goes with that. And so what that means is because we got a propensity as we get older to have something called insulin resistance, which also results in fat gain. And what insulin resistance is when your pancreas does not process sugar in your body effectively. So you get blood sugar spikes, and that leads to fat gain. But if you've got muscle in your body, that's actually going to tackle insulin resistance as well. So it means less weight gain. So more muscle in actual fat means less fat. But we do have to be mindful of what we're eating. And particularly for women at this stage in life, things like too much refined sugar. I don't mean fruit. I'm not the fruit police. Like some influencers, they tell you not to eat fruit. I don't agree with that. I think, you should just eat rainbow and have a healthy whole foods diet. but we want to sort of cut down on the refined sugar. I'll have things like 1 or 2 squares of 70% dark chocolate kind of every day. I kind of eat that, and that's perfectly fine. We want to cut
I
back on
love
the
that.
refined sugar and also the white flour. Things like white bread and white pasta, our bodies don't tolerate it that well at this stage in life.
Yeah, and Americans, people say, what about the Italians? They're thin. Their pasta is different than ours. We have a lot of white flour in our pasta. It's a little different over there. The walking, and I want to get to walking because this is kind of simple and you say life changing, just getting those steps. But let's talk about how much protein in grams, and that might be hard for people to figure out, but there's ways to do this. What does a typical day in the life of your eating program look like? What do we eat for breakfast to make sure we're getting this fat loss diet underway?
So what I sort of say to people, Cara, is you want to be getting in protein at every single meal and snack. And so, like a typical day, you might kind of start off with like eggs. It's probably going to have to be more than 2 eggs, by the way, though. 3 eggs or 2 eggs and like a couple of egg whites, something like that. Or it could be oatmeal with protein powder added in. And then I have recipes for things like protein pancakes as well. So you can feel like you're having a bit of a treat. And, what I like to talk about is a gram of protein per pound in body weight. And of course, that's really difficult for people to calculate. But if you think of it as I'm going to get in protein at every single meal and snack. So after breakfast, you're going to have a lunch. Today I had ground beef with a tortilla, but it was like a whole grain seeded tortilla with some like veggies and feta cheese. It doesn't sound too bad, does it? Bit of avocado on the side, because avocado is really good for women at this stage in life because it reduces your inflammation. So you're going to feel really full and satisfied because of the protein.
Okay.
And then later on, guess what? I had one of my homemade protein carrot cakes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound at all, like you're depriving yourself, does it? And then, later on for dinner, I'm going to probably have some sort of fish. I tend to have salmon and veggies, maybe some black rice or some brown rice to go with it, because salmon's an oily fish and it's really good for balancing our hormones. And then, I might have a dessert, a yogurt. Greek yogurt is fantastic because it's really high in protein. Greek yogurt more than standard yogurt, which I know is a lot of Greek yogurt in the USA. So, I would have like a pot, probably a 5 to 7 ounce pot of yogurt. And if you're looking at adding something that isn't fish or meat to your meal, we have in my programs, we have loads of plant options, but you could like have 7 ounces of beans or lentils, 7 ounces of tofu, for example, instead.
So let me ask you about, I know we don't want the quote unquote bad carbs, the sugary ones, the white processed flour. For those of us who are a little insulin sensitive, and I've, because I do this show and I talk to some top docs, I've drilled down and I know I can see the number. I actually do have some insulin resistance, not diabetic, not anything like that. I'm just not, according to the, very carb tolerant. So I've actually been told stay away from too many beans, because those are also, I know they're good carbs, but like, how do we balance having the good carbs, the brown rice or the beans? Do we still have to be careful and focus mostly on just lean protein and veggies if you want to lose fat?
I don't believe in cutting out carbs altogether, Cara. And that's a really interesting question you ask, because people will say, well, don't I need to go on a ketogenic diet or a very, very low carb diet? And what I would say that I have women eating, I would call moderate to low carbohydrates.
Okay.
Some people would describe it as being low, but you would still allow yourself potatoes, sweet potatoes, things like quinoa, even beans, but they're just in moderation.
Okay.
So you don't pile your plate high with them, at every single meal. They're in moderation. And, it's a good sort of thing is to think of it as a fistful. a fistful. So we had a palmful of protein and then a fistful of your carbohydrate source. So that's like potatoes. I use the air fryer. I'll put like white potatoes, I chop them up, put them in the air fryer with a squirt of olive oil, and they come out beautiful. They
A white
absolutely taste
potato?
amazing.
People say a
And
white
it's not,
potato, no way. But you, on your plan, you have women
yeah, I
having
have
both
all
white
my
and
women
sweet.
eating potato.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, unless they had some sort of intolerance to it, which is very unusual. And so what happens then? And I would say most women during this time of life, they're going to be insulin resistant. And they do really well on that because it's not high carbohydrate, but it's not so low that it's really difficult to stick to. Because
Then
the thing is, you need to be able to eat in a way that you can stick to for the rest of your life. And so, maybe you're going on vacation or it's coming up for the holiday season, which I know is like really far away, but we've got Easter coming up. You're going to be visiting friends and relatives. If you're on something that's like a really low carb diet, it's going to be quite hard to stick to, isn't it? But this is something that you can do for life and incorporate it for the rest of your life. And yeah, you might have a couple of days during Easter where you go a bit higher on your carbs than normal, and then you just bring it back down.
okay. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors and then come back and talk about alcohol, which is also something we have to change post 40. Here's a quick message from our sponsor.
Struggling with gambling? Wheeler Health's Better Choice program offers personalized support and treatment to help you regain control. Visit wheelerhealth.org to learn more and take the first step towards recovery today.
All right, we're back with Melissa Neill. She is a YouTuber and fitness coach that specifically is helping women over 40 transform their bodies. She is the founder and CEO of Body by Bikini Fitness and weight loss programs that are specifically designed for women over 40 because we are different. And I know you've helped 10,000 women through her Body by Bikini app. So if bikinis are something you want, this is someone you're going to want to talk to. Let's talk about alcohol, because alcohol is something that is a part of a lot of people's lives, but they're finding that maybe nothing in their body is working the same as it used to with hormonal changes and everything. Do people need to really cut back on alcohol to lose fat after 40?
I believe it's really important to cut back down on alcohol if you're finding that maybe, like me, so I'll just tell you a story about me, Cara, because I liked alcohol a little bit too much until I went on my transformation journey. So I was sort of drinking wine every night. And I think at one point it was kind of like a bottle of wine a night, which is just kind of way too much for anybody of any age. But particularly when you get to this stage in life, it is problematic. We're less tolerant to alcohol as we get older because naturally our bodies have less water in them, Cara. So when we have less water, it means like the alcohol is going to go to your head a bit more and it's going to go into your system and it's going to take you longer to recover. Also, really specific to menopausal women, it can actually mess with our hormones. So our hormones are already out of whack, but it kind of makes it worse by consuming, too much alcohol or alcohol on a really regular basis. You can also find that it actually makes you wake up in the night a lot more. And of course, alcohol is really high in calories. And it's another thing that can kind of give you a blood sugar spike. It can lead to, and this would be the same for anybody any age, you can find you could be less disciplined about food. So you want to be this, you want to have the snacking and the craving, maybe while you're drinking alcohol, but also the next day to recover from a hangover, you're eating and consuming more. So there's lots of reason to cut back on alcohol, but I'm not a killjoy. I mean, full disclosure, I completely quit. It was around 6 years ago now. And for me, I am much better with just having no alcohol at all because I was a problem drinker. But for other people, it might be that you just do it on special occasions.
Yeah.
Just stick to it on special occasions and then have a glass of water with every glass of, say, glass wine. And there are some low calorie options when you are going to drink. So, a vodka lime soda water, for example, that's quite low in calories. And so, it's less likely that you're going to be consuming something that's really high in calories. And just don't drink too much. I mean, Cara, probably it's not a good look when we get to a certain age, is it? To be getting drunk, a female of a certain age. It might have been all right when you were a teenager in your 20s, but probably not good when you're older, is it?
Absolutely. I know there's so much to get to, and we only have about 4 minutes left of this program. So I want to talk about something that I think can be really great for our mental health. It's not expensive, and you say it's really transformational for losing fat, and that is just walking. How much do we need to walk every day? Should we track our steps?
Walking is really underrated, Cara. I said in my book, I used to think of it as the poor cousin to running. And now I quit running years ago and I just walk. And it's absolutely fantastic, both for your physical health, your longevity, your mental health. But also, the good news is it's fantastic for fat burning. So you've got every reason to sort of incorporate walking into your daily life. And it's really great for women over 40 because it's low impact. So I know lots of women at my age, they find they get really bad knees and that sort of thing. And everyone can incorporate walking, whether you've got bad knees or bad back, whatever it is, you can do that. And there are lots of ways to do it. Sometimes we've got pieces of technology that makes it easy for us. So we have wearables where we can kind of monitor the amount of steps. And I always say to women, well, try to get in 7,000 steps per day. I don't go right up to the 10,000 because that was actually a made up number. And there's a lot of evidence to show that 7,000 is enough. But if that's too much for you, maybe you get a wearable and you think, well, I'm only getting 2,000 steps in a day. Just increase it by 1,000 and then gradually over a number of weeks get to 7,000 steps per day. And you can walk outside. I have a walking pad in my office.
Yeah.
So I put it on. I haven't got it on now, but when I'm on meetings, I put it on and I walk during meetings. And I quickly find that I can really get my steps up quite significantly by doing that.
Every little
so
bit
I'm
helps.
Really passionate about everyone can include it.
Yeah, I love my Aura ring because it does tell me I'm honest. We're out of time for this interview, but I want to let everyone know where they can find you. You can visit melissaneill.com. You can also find her on Facebook and Instagram at Ms. Melissa Neill. All the information on your screen. The book is Kickstart Fat Loss by Melissa Neill. It's available everywhere. And again, she's been training some 10,000 women over the age of 40 to look like she does at 58, which is incredible. Thank you, Melissa. We really appreciate you being here on Cara's Cures.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Have a great day and be well. And if you're listening on the podcast, please like and subscribe.
CURES, sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.